Hello, this is Pastor Steve Brown from Grace Church in Sherkston, Ontario. I'm so glad again that you could join me in watching this video, and I hope that you find some encouragement today from it. Well, in Ontario at least, our 2 weeks of our health state of emergency has now stretched into 5, with, according to our Premier, we have about another 3 weeks to go. And I don't know about you, but I've been growing pretty tired of this. I know compared to other hardships, ours is small. We're not fighting a shooting war with anybody. We're not dealing with an earthquake or a tsunami, as some other people have had to deal with. We've got comfortable homes to stay in, because we have to stay at home, but at least our homes are comfortable. We have internet, we have TV, we have Netflix, we have heat. Our homes are comfortable places to hole up in. But I do miss going to restaurants and coffee shops. I miss just walking into the grocery store and taking all the time I want and not worrying about physical distancing. I miss making my pastoral visits. I miss Sunday morning worship services. This whole thing is just taking too long. And when things are happening that we don't like and we think that they are simply taking too long, it's easy to begin thinking that we have been forgotten by God. We wonder if He's paying attention to our prayers. We wonder if He even cares. We wonder if He doesn't respond because, as God, He really doesn't understand what we humans are going through. Well, we're not the first people to go through things that seem like they are simply taking too long. We're not the first people to question God's care or ability or understanding to deal with our problems. In Isaiah's day, the people of Jerusalem were facing some very difficult problems that lasted a long time. We know that during this time they were faced with invasion by the empire of Assyria, and it was a long-standing threat. But whatever the problem was, they prayed about it, and it seemed that the problem just kept going on and on and on. And in Isaiah 40, we read the mood of the people of Jerusalem. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 27 says, "Why do you say, O Jacob, and complain, O Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, my cause is disregarded by my God." See, the people felt forgotten by God. They felt like God didn't see their problems or care about them, and we might be feeling somewhat like that today. But Isaiah wants the people to know that God does indeed both know and care about their problems. In verse 28, he asks some questions, and he says, "Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and His understanding no one can fathom." One of the problems the Jews had when it came to really knowing God is that the gods that were worshipped by the people around them had a lot of human characteristics to them. People thought that gods got tired or that gods didn't know everything. Some even said that God slept, and Elijah, when he was teasing the prophets of Baal during that great contest on the Mount of Carmel, even called out to them when their god Baal didn't answer, said, "Well, maybe he's going to the bathroom." But Isaiah needed to point out to people that the Lord they worshipped was far superior to any of these man-made gods or idols. The other gods were created. Their God was the creator. Other gods came to be. Their God always existed. Other gods got tired, but their God never slumbered nor slept. The gods of the nations had limited understanding. Their God had an understanding that no one could fathom. The Jews, in their long-term distress, needed to be reminded of who God is. And maybe we do too. Maybe when we get tired of waiting and we think God doesn't care, we really need to remind ourselves who God is. We might especially want to remind ourselves of his wisdom. God is the one who sees the end from the beginning. He's the one who is doing works that we often don't see, both in our lives and in the world around us. Times when we feel forgotten by God might be times when we need to reevaluate our understanding of him. But Isaiah also reminds the people of what God does. Verse 29, he says, he gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. The long and the short of this is that God gives strength to people who hope in him. I have learned that God doesn't always deliver people from problems and trials, at least not immediately. What God does do is renew our strength so that we can bear and get through our problems and issues. God knows when we need deliverance, but he also knows when we have a greater need. And that greater need is for strength. There was a time in my life when I had a problem that I thought was never going to go away. I prayed about it. Deb prayed about it. The elders of our church prayed about it, but the problem simply wasn't resolved. It was a very difficult time because it just went on and on and on and on. And I thought it was never, ever going to be over. But instead of God delivering me right away, the Lord gave me strength to get through that problem. He led me to resources so I could learn how to handle and live with the problem without giving up and without letting the problem break me. He led me to people who had wisdom, and those people were used of God in the process of transforming and strengthening my character. Eventually, the problem did go away, but the strength the Lord gave me has stayed with me. The spiritual strength and the strength of wisdom that came in that process are things that are still with me today. And I never would have received that strength if I didn't stick with God and hope with him in the midst of a problem that I thought was never going to end. Now, I don't have a clue how long we will have to live with this coronavirus. I don't know how long it'll take until we are able to meet as a church again, have family dinners, go to restaurants and meet for coffee. I don't know how long it'll take before shopping will become a pleasure again, or even when I'll be able to get a haircut. Pretty soon I'll be able to have a ponytail if it doesn't happen soon. I don't know how long it'll be for you grandparents to be able to hug your grandchildren. I don't know. But there is one thing I do know, and that is that those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. I do know that if we stick with God, we will receive what we need to go through this trial. Now, maybe you're facing a crisis of belief, wondering why God hasn't stepped into your circumstances. And maybe they have nothing to do with COVID-19. Maybe your faith is wavering in the midst of a situation that leaves you wondering where God is and why he hasn't rescued you. Maybe you are floundering in your pain, in your anguish, wondering if you will ever again serve the God you once loved and proclaimed. Well, there is good news. Even if you don't have the strength you need right now, maybe your circumstances are designed to help you find the strength in God that you long for. Maybe you are on the verge of receiving his strength. I don't know about you, but I long to experience the strength that God gives. It's not easy. It's a process of walking in obedience and of learning the character of God, especially learning that in the character and the work of Jesus Christ. A God who sent his Son to die on the cross for our sins is a wonderful God, and we have to hang on to that. But getting the strength from the Lord is a process of walking through painful circumstances and seeing him bring beauty from the ashes. And it's about allowing God to be God instead of expecting him to act as we think he should. And it is believing that God knows what he's doing even when the problems seem to go on and on. And sometimes it involves that believing that having his strength is better than being delivered from our ongoing problems. Now, I've been praying that we would be delivered from this virus, but I'm also praying that all of us will experience his strength, the strength that he wants to give us during this time. Therefore, friends, let us continue to hope in the Lord, and you will experience the renewal of your strength. Well, thank you for joining me again. I hope that you find these little videos a blessing. We, again, are not sure when we're going to be able to meet together again. But until we are, hope in the Lord, and he will renew his strength, your strength. Amen.